Hello and welcome. If you're a landlord here in the UK, your entire tax world is about to be turned upside down. Seriously, big changes are coming in 2026. And to break down exactly what you need to know, we've teamed up with the experts over at My Tax Accountant to guide you through it all.
You know that feeling, right? That annual stress of the January 31st deadline. That mad scramble to find every single receipt and get your self-assessment filed just in the nick of time. We've all been there.
Well, for most landlords, that entire system is about to become a thing of the past. And I don't mean a small tweak, I mean a complete and total overhaul.
So here's our game plan. We'll cover what this new era for landlords looks like, get to grips with a system called Making Tax Digital, we'll touch on some other key rule changes, and most importantly, we'll give you a practical action plan to get ready. Okay, let's dive into this.
Right, Section 1, a new era for landlords. And look, I know this sounds dramatic, but it's true. We are genuinely witnessing the end of the annual tax return as we know it. This is a massive shift in how you'll manage your property finances from now on.
So, what's driving all this change? It's something called Making Tax Digital for Income Tax, or MTD for short. In a nutshell, it's a big government plan to move all tax reporting into a fully digital, real-time system. It's replacing that old annual process for landlords and for the self-employed. Let's get right into the heart of it then. What is MTD? Because this is so much more than just getting new software. It really is a complete shift in how you need to approach and manage your finances day in, day out.
Okay, so let's break it down. The old way was basically a once-a-year sprint to a single deadline, right? You could keep records on paper or a simple spreadsheet. But the new way, MTD, it's more like a steady jog throughout the year. We're talking quarterly digital updates, multiple deadlines, and mandatory digital records. The upside? You get real-time estimates of your tax bill as you go.
So the big question is, when does this actually affect you? Well, it's being rolled out in phases. From April 2026, it becomes mandatory if your gross income is over £50,000. A year later, in April 2027, that threshold drops to $30,000. And the plan is to drop it again to $20,000 in 2028. So you see, this is coming for most landlords, and it's coming fast.
Now, this is a really crucial point. How do you calculate that gross income? It's your total income before you deduct any of your expenses. And, this is really important, it combines your property income with any self-employment income you have. So let's take Sarah, a landlord in London. She earns £45,000 in rent and another $10,000 from some freelance work. Her total gross income for MTG purposes is £55,000, which puts her squarely in that first wave from April 2026.
Your new reporting cycle has four main parts. First, you've got to keep all your records digitally using compatible software. Second, you send a summary of your income and expenses to HMRC every quarter. Third, after the tax year, you submit what's called an end-of-period statement to finalize your business details. And finally, there's a final declaration to wrap up all your income for the year.
So you need to get ready for a totally new rhythm to your tax year. Instead of that one big deadline in January, you now have 4 quarterly ones. You'll be submitting updates in August, November, February, and May. This means that staying organized and on top of your bookkeeping is more important than ever before.
Yep. Let that sink in for a moment. We are going from just one annual submission to 4 mandatory updates every single year.
Here's a quick tip for you. While the standard tax quarters are set, you can actually choose to use calendar quarters, so ending in June, September, December, and March, if that fits better with how you run your books. The key thing to remember, though, is that the filing deadlines themselves don't change.
Okay, stay with me here, because this next point is really important. To make sure everyone follows these new rules, HMRC is also introducing a completely new penalty system.
This new system works on points, a bit like a driving license. Each time you submit a quarterly update late, you get 1 penalty point. Once you hit 4 points, a £200 fine is automatically triggered. And from that moment on, every single subsequent late submission will cost you another £200. You can see how quickly those fines could stack up.
Now, it's also really important to understand that MTT isn't happening in a vacuum. It's actually part of a much broader wave of changes that are creating a whole new rulebook for landlords.
So alongside all these tax changes, the Renters' Rights Act is also set to come into force in 2026. This is a big deal. It's going to abolish no-fault evictions, change how tenancies work, and limit rent increases, adding a whole other layer of complexity to being a landlord that you absolutely need to be aware of.
And another key tax change involves something called incorporation relief. Now, previously, if you moved your property business into a limited company, this relief often applied automatically. From April 2026, it won't. You will now have to make a formal, detailed claim for it. That means more admin and makes getting it right absolutely crucial.
And let's not forget, the existing rules on mortgage interest relief for individual landlords still apply. You still get that 20% tax credit on your interest payments instead of a full deduction from your income, and that continues to be a major factor in calculating your final tax bill.
So, with all of these moving parts, where could you possibly go wrong? Well, let's look at some of the common pitfalls, because honestly, being aware of these traps is half the battle won.
Right, here are the top 5 mistakes we see. First, thinking your salary job counts towards the MTD threshold. It doesn't. Second, believing your old Excel spreadsheet is compliant on its own. It isn't. It needs special bridging software. And a huge one, underestimating just how long it will take to get your digital records in order. You need to start now.
Okay, I know that's a lot to take in. So let's get practical. How do you actually get ready for 2026? Let's map out a clear path forward. Your preparation can be broken down into 4 pretty simple steps. First things first, work out your total gross income right now to see which deadline applies to you. Second, take a long, hard look at your current record keeping. Is it still a shoebox full of receipts? If so, it's time for a change. Third, start researching MTD-compliant software today. And fourth, and this is probably the most important step of all, speak to an advisor.
And here is a fantastic pro tip from the experts at My Tax Accountant. Start using digital software now, even if you don't legally have to yet. Get comfortable with it, learn the process, and build those good habits. It will make the final mandatory switch in 2026 feel like a small step rather than a terrifying giant leap.
We've covered a huge amount of ground, and there's no denying these changes are significant. But the single most important takeaway here is that you absolutely do not have to try and navigate this complex transition all on your own.
This is exactly where professional help becomes invaluable. Specialists, like our partners for this presentation at My Tax Accountant, live and breathe this stuff. They focus specifically on helping landlords navigate these exact kinds of changes, making sure you stay compliant and as tax efficient as possible. For personalized advice on your specific situation, we really do recommend getting in touch with them. You can reach My Tax Accountant on 0202-857-08531. Or you can email them at info@mytaxaccountant.co.uk.
And just a quick important reminder, the information in this presentation is for general guidance only. When it comes to making any decisions about your own finances, you should always consult with a qualified professional first.
So, I'll leave you with this final thought. Are your property finances truly ready for what is, without a doubt, the biggest tax shakeup we've seen in a generation?
Thank you so much for watching. If you found this breakdown helpful, please don't forget to subscribe to the My Tax Accountant YouTube channel for more updates just like this. We'll see you next time.